What up, everyone, and welcome back to Hangover On Downs. I am your host, Logan, of course, joined as always by my amazing co-host, Tyler. Tyler, say what's up, and tell him why you're in a hotel room.
So,
Tyler got kicked out of his house, so he's I'm just.
I did. I got kicked out, but for real though, I'm on a little business trip. Got some training going on for the field that I work in, so I'll be here all week. So
before we hop into podcast stuff, tell us a little bit about what's going on. How's everything going?
Well, we went out. We got new tattoos. You can see here. Like I said, on a business trip, getting certified on some things for the field that I work in. But today we've got some Jonathan Taylor news to break down to you. We've got our top 5 positions for all the offense. We got quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, tight ends, tackles, all tackles, right and left, guards, same with tackle, and center. Also, in maybe about a week or so, we'll do a defensive version of this. So hopefully you guys enjoy this.
So, we're going to be hopping right into our top 5 players at every position. Now, the way that we're going to break this down is we've got Oh, he already said it. Sorry. So the way that we're going to do this is I'm going to say my number 1, then he's going to say his number 1, and then we're just going to go down the list. So, with that being said, my number 1 quarterback in the NFL, Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, so mine's a little bit different. I've got Justin Fields as my
yeah, we're running with that. Okay.
I'm Patrick Mahomes. It's Patrick Mahomes.
So I don't really think we need to talk about Patrick Mahomes.
No, he's really good.
Now I will talk about my number 2.
Okay.
So my number 2 might be different from yours. I don't know. Is Joe Burrow.
Mine is also Joe Burrow.
I mean, he's done something that Josh Allen hasn't done, and that is beat Mahomes. He's proven that he can beat Mahomes. Because of how we've talked about Josh Allen in the last week, I feel like there's definitely going to be, because I said he's on Fraud Watch last week, and someone actually did comment about that. Guys, it's a fucking podcast. Do not take it that damn serious.
I see the comment, but the reason I Burrow over a guy like him, Burrow has playoff success. It's the bottom line. And Burrow, even in the regular season, could be an MVP candidate. Probably already is. I don't know if you got any votes or not, but he's that good of a player.
I don't know. Has he gotten MVP votes? That's actually a great question.
That is. I really don't know.
But with that being said, my number 3 is Josh Allen.
That is too.
I mean, Josh Allen, like skill-wise, I mean, he's absolutely insane. I mean,
yeah,
but
rocket arm.
The playoff success up to this point is really holding him back, and that's another reason why my number 4 isn't higher. As my number 4 is Aaron Rodgers.
Mine is Justin Herbert.
The thing is with Aaron Rodgers is in the last 4 years he's won the MVP twice, but he lost to Brady and then lost to the Niners twice, and I have a really hard time putting an all-time great quarterback who has great regular seasons. Keep in mind, I mean Aaron Rodgers talent-wise is probably one of the most talented quarterback. I'm not going to say the most, but he's top 3.
I'm not going to argue that. He's definitely a good player. Can't stand his guts.
I honestly think at this point, though, it's not crazy to say that Patrick Mahomes is the most talented quarterback we've ever seen. But anyway, with that being said, with his recent success in the last couple years, sure, he's had good regular seasons and he's won MVP, but he hadn't done shit in the playoffs, and he's played like shit in the playoffs. That's why I can't have Aaron Rodgers in my in higher than 4, and I think it could be the same thing this year, especially going to the AFC. I know I predicted him going to the AFC Championship, but we'll see.
As normal.
And then my number 5. Who's your number 5? Let me say yours, or let me hear yours.
Well, do you want to hear my number 4 first?
Oh,
go over a little bit.
Sorry, Daddy.
Sure. So as I said, my 4 is Justin Herbert. I know he doesn't really have that success that everybody's like, oh, he ain't that good. Guys, Justin Herbert is that damn good. He is that damn good. He plays under a bad coaching staff, an injury-riddled team. His number 1 receiver, Keenan Allen's down every year, but he still puts up the numbers. With a good team, the Chargers can go to the Super Bowl. Yeah, I said it. With a good team, a healthy team, this team was really good on paper. And if Justin Herbert wasn't there, they might be the worst team in the league because of the injuries. And, Brandon Staley, I'm not too big on him as a head coach. I think as a defense coordinator, he's awesome. We saw him in Los Angeles, I believe, with the Rams. that good. Justin Herbert, rocket arm. He can move, maybe not the most mobile, but he can move. He's accurate.
He can move
He's
quicker.
big.
He moves quicker in the NFL than he did at Oregon.
Yeah. See, I wasn't big on him coming out of college, I'll admit.
I wasn't
But
either.
me wrong. Man, Justin Herbert's that guy. He is.
Well, then my number 5 was Justin Herbert. So I'm not really going to talk about Justin Herbert because I pretty much agree with what you said.
So my number 5 is Jalen Hurts.
Ugh, I couldn't put him in my top 5. Not yet.
I was kind of in the same boat. I know a lot of people may want him higher, but
if he does it again this year and better, then he's top 5.
I put him at 5 because his season was that damn good. I mean, he was runner-up in MVP. But Jalen Hurts is one of those guys where I need to see more. You know, he doesn't have the storm, but man, did he take a jump from the year before to last year?
I need to see him do it again.
And it's another one of those guys that proved me wrong. You know, I was not big on Jalen Hurts.
Most of the league was not big on Jalen Hurts, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, do y'all blame me? Just, you know, doesn't have a big arm. His accuracy was kind of all over the place last year, or the year before, I guess. But man, last year he took that step, and I mean that was a big step.
Yeah, I mean my issue with Hurts isn't even his play style. My issue with Hurts is literally I just need to see him do it again. And that's so it's got nothing to do. I'm not questioning how good he is. I just want to see him do it again.
It's just been 1 year. I need to see more as well because if I may even put him over Josh Allen just because of that playoff success.
That's exactly what I was about to say. If he does it again this year and can go to the NFC Conference Championship or back to the Super Bowl and Josh Allen loses again in the divisional or something.
Yeah, it's hard not to put.
It's hard not to put Jalen Hurts because here's the thing. I mean, you can argue, you know, I mean, how good the team is or whatever. That Bills team is fucking good too.
Yeah. Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, a good offensive line. They drafted Dalton Kincaid, but also have Dawson Knox, Von Miller, Greg Rousseau. Do I need to keep going? Tre'Davious White,
Matt Milano, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde,
and
Kyrie Lam.
And I am a big Josh Allen fan. He talent-wise.
That's what I was gonna say. So if any of you guys even try to say that we're Josh Allen haters, I want you to go back to when we did week by week. The videos are still on our channel, and you can see us hyping up Josh Allen after he had the season where it was like 20 touchdowns to 7 picks, and we said Josh Allen's going to break the fuck out.
Yes,
but
he is.
Even in that year that Josh Allen broke out, Josh Allen led the league in dropped interceptions.
He did.
Dropped interceptions thrown, I should say.
I was such a huge Josh Allen fan coming out of Wyoming. I still am. It's just one of those cases where I need to see him have playoff success, and he just hasn't. And, you know, you could be the most skilled player, like we mentioned, Aaron Rodgers. And, you know, he does get to the conference finals, but he don't win, thank God. But, you know, Josh Allen, I would like to see him get at least to the conference championship this year. With the team that he has, you know, I'm not going to say he's going to beat the Chiefs, but, you know, with that team, he needs to win a couple games in the playoffs.
If that Bengals team with Burrow can beat the Chiefs, there's no reason why that Bills team.
Yeah, and I would argue that the Bills defense is better.
That Bills defense is better.
It is better.
I don't think it's an argument. Now, I would argue that maybe the Bengals have a better D line, but maybe, but even then, I think that's pushing it because the Bills definitely have a better secondary and definitely have a better linebacking core. Even though I do think that the Bengals linebacking core is underrated. I think we actually talked about that last week. But
Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, it's a good linebacking
very underrated.
core.
Akeem Davis-Gaither, very underrated. But I still think the Bills is better. So
yeah, and I think the Bills have a better offensive line too. I know the Bengals have invested in it, but I need to see it on the field because you know you signed a lot.
They invested in it last year, and it
Yeah, and it still wasn't great, but. The Bills also have a solid offensive line. It's just he needs to win some games in the playoffs. He does.
He's got to, man. So hopping into running back, I'll let you go first.
My number one's Derrick Henry.
Mine's not.
What? Is it McCaffrey? Okay, I'm not going to argue that.
McCaffrey was healthy all year last year, and now him and Derrick Henry have both been to their conference championships. You know,
okay.
I just and McCaffrey Derrick Henry's the better runner, obviously, but I mean McCaffrey. I mean, all around, you can't go wrong with McCaffrey, especially when he's healthy. And now, if McCaffrey wasn't healthy, I probably wouldn't even have him because it's really hard to rank guys that stay hurt. But McCaffrey shut up all the doubters last year, and I hope he does it again this year. I really do, because McCaffrey's a guy that I've always liked. Liked him coming out of college, and I like him now.
McCaffrey can do it all. Like you said, I was going back and forth between the two. The reason I didn't put McCaffrey is because he has more of an injury history than Derrick Henry. He's unlike any player I've ever seen. It's a linebacker playing running back with hell speed. I mean, he's
gotten faster. Can we talk about that? Derrick Henry has gotten faster.
And I know the trend going around the league about running backs. We will get to the Jonathan Taylor situation later, but Derrick Henry's
Jonathan Taylor is not in my top 5.
He's not in mine either.
Okay, I just want to get that out of the way.
So like I was mentioning, Derrick Henry's unlike any running back I've ever seen. Just he's almost 30. He's still doing the damn thing. Ran for 2,000 yards. I mean, it's Derrick Henry. There's no other way to put it.
So that takes me into my number 2. My number 2 is Derrick Henry, and no matter how people feel about Derrick Henry and the Titans' offense, Derrick Henry is a generational running back. There is no reason that he should still be doing what he's doing going into his 30s. He should have CTE and be on Antonio Brown level right now.
Yeah, guys, Derrick Henry is the Titans' offense. He is.
Derrick Henry has been the heart and soul of the Titans for the last 4 years.
He has.
So, who is your number 2 is McCaffrey?
Yeah, it's McCaffrey. Just he does everything, man. He would be one if he didn't have such a deep injury history.
I get it.
But when he's on the field, man, it's hard to beat someone like Christian McCaffrey. He can do it all.
Yeah, I get it. My number 3, I don't know whose turn it is. I'm just gonna go. My number 3 is Nick Chubb.
It's awesome, man. Nick Chubb.
I mean, you really can't go wrong with Nick Chubb, and I think with Kareem Hunt playing behind him too. I know he's not there now, but with Kareem Hunt playing behind him in recent years, it's really saved a lot of Nick Chubb's prime too.
I don't think Nick Chubb's really had a big injury either over his. He may have missed a couple of games, but Nick Chubb is just as consistent as they come. He is.
I mean, he's always top of the league in broken tackles. Nick Chubb is a problem, man. Just for sake of what we were talking about, the most games Nick Chubb has missed was in 2020, and it wasn't even injury related. It was due to COVID.
Wow.
So
yeah, guys.
He played 16 games his rookie year, 16 his second year, 12 his third year, 14 in 2021, and then last year played all 17.
Yeah, he's the guy that's really not talked about either, even though he's at the top of the league in every.
It's honestly, he's gotten better every year. Like, he really has. I mean, went for 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns this year, and then he also had a career high in receiving yards, which is really good for him, actually.
And I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, Saquon, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs. Guys, go look at the numbers. Go look at the injury history. Nick Chubb is damn good.
Saquon didn't make my top 5 either.
He did mine.
Okay. So we got the same number 3. Who's your number 4?
Saquon Barkley.
All right, why?
So it's one of those same situations as McCaffrey. He does have an injury history, or else he may be higher, probably not.
By the way, I'm going to say this. If you guys see me looking off to the side, I'm looking at my MacBook. I use my MacBook for notes.
Yeah. Saquon does it all. So Saquon has probably the biggest thighs I've ever seen.
Dude, it's ridiculous. That motherfucker's thighs are insane.
But, Saquon is one of those guys when he's on the field, he's going to be a very good running back. And I think he played a huge part in the Giants' success last year, even if his stats weren't amazing. Saquon Barkley's a good person, good locker room guy. I hate the fact that he's had the injuries that he has, but I think Saquon Barkley's just that damn good. He really is.
So I already said. So my number 4 is Josh Jacobs.
Okay.
Josh Jacobs, obviously a career year last year. He's a guy that's kind of battled some injuries, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And obviously playing behind a shitty offensive line for the majority of his career.
Also played with John Gruden, who didn't use him.
And yeah, John Gruden also in 20. What year was it? 20. When everyone was complaining about that, there was a certain year. Was it 2020? Was it his
Is
second?
that okay?
I think it was his second year where everyone was complaining about John Gruden not using using Josh Jacobs, but and Josh Jacobs will be playing this year. He signed a 1-year extension, I'm pretty sure.
He may sign his franchise tag, but I'm not sure if it
I
was
think you're
that.
right. Actually, no, I think you're right. I think it was his franchise tag. But last year went for 1,653 yards, 12 touchdowns, had 400 yards receiving. But here's an actual fun fact that I didn't know: Josh Jacobs does not have a receiving touchdown in his career.
I actually didn't know that.
But last year still had 53 receptions, which is tied for a career high, and also had 400 yards. And last year also had an 86-yard run. I don't know why I said that, but Josh Jacobs was amazing last year, and he's going to be a big part of their offense this year if they have any type of success. So, who's your number 5?
My 5 is Josh Jacobs. Now, there's one reason I didn't put him over Saquon, and I know this kind of ruins the whole thing. I kind of talk about the injuries. Josh Jacobs had a career year last year. I'm not going to deny that. And it's not his fault that John Gruden didn't use him. I just want to see more of that. I want to see more over 1,300 yards rushing, 1,415. I want him to be...
He hadn't got a big contract yet, so next year he's going to go off too.
He is. It's just one of those where I want to see more years like last year. Maybe not 1,600 yards. That's actually insane. But, be in the discussion for the best running back in the league. I want more of that.
So, my number 5... Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I don't like the way you're talking about it, but...
My number 5 is Tony Pollard. Yes. Tony Pollard.
Oh.
Tony Pollard is that good.
He is. I need this. I need to see more.
I got Tony Pollard in my top 5, man. I mean, Zeke still got 231 fucking attempts last year. He got more than 100 more, almost 100 more fucking attempts than Tony Pollard did.
I'm not going to deny Pollard's that good, but I need to see a big year for him, like huge year.
Pollard went for 1,000 this year and 9 touchdowns while getting half the carries that a starting running back would get, and also had almost had 400 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns and half the snaps that a running back would get. So I think if you give Tony Pollard the 250 attempts that Zeke was getting, Tony Pollard is 1,400 yards and 500 receiving yards.
You know what? You do make a good case. It's just one of those cases where I need to see one of those big years.
Now, I wouldn't disagree with Saquon being over him, or I don't disagree. It's just I'm really big on Tony Pollard, man. I mean, last year he fucking started. I mean, obviously he played a lot, but he only fucking started 4 games.
I do have an honorable mention, Austin Eckler.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. He was really in contention for my 5 spot.
He was almost mine, but Josh Jacobs just had that phenomenal year. And Eckler's not really a pure runner. I'm not saying he can't run, but he's not one of these guys like Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry. With him out of the backfield as a receiving option, holy shit, guys. Like, he's that good. He is. And I know I've said that a lot, but all these players that we're talking about, we believe are top 5 at their position, so they're all damn good. But I probably would put Eckler over Pollard just because Pollard hasn't really been that good.
I think Pollard this season, we will see Pollard be in that Austin Eckler role, and I think he's going to thrive.
And I will say, I do think Pollard's a better runner than Eckler.
Oh, definitely.
I will say that.
Definitely.
I just need to see it first, and I'm totally on board with you. I think he will have that year. Actually, I'm pretty confident he will. I need to see it first.
I feel it.
So moving into receiver, I'm going to start off with my number 1. I think it's pretty clear the way I've talked about Justin Jefferson. I hate that he's in my division, but he's probably the best route runner in the league. Great hands. There's no flaw to his game. There just isn't. I think he makes Kirk Cousins look better than he is. I will say that. It's just one of those guys where it's hard to point out a specific area of his game because he's just so damn good at everything. He is. He's fast. Like I said, I think he's the best route runner in the league. He can play in the slot.
I have a feeling we're about to have the exact same top 5 for receivers. Like, I really do, just knowing how you think and stuff.
I know your one's the same.
I think we might have the same number 2 as well. I don't know though. My if you're ready to hop into it, my number 2 is Devontae.
I put Jamar Chase.
I don't hate it. I'm not against it, bro. Okay, I will say this before we get deeper into it. Maybe not my number 5, but my 2, 3, and 4 could really all be interchangeable. Like they really could be.
Mine are actually the same way. So,
Because I guess people's biggest gripe with Devontae right now would be the team he's on, but it still doesn't take away from what the fuck Devontae Adams is.
here's the reason I put Chase over guys like Tyreek Hill and Devontae. And honestly, I was thinking about him and Tyreek there for quite a minute.
No, I didn't put Jamar over Tyreek, but we'll get into that.
Okay.
We'll get into that.
Jamar Chase, he was injured like half of last year and still put over 1,000 yards. He's that good. Whenever he got drafted, he turned the Bengals. Him and Burrow turned the Bengals from worst to first.
Literally.
Jamar Chase is good.
Literally from worst to first. Like, actually, that's crazy.
Worst to first. Him and Joe Burrow, that quarterback wide receiver connection. Wow.
What's bad is I was a little bit mad about that pick at the time. I think a lot of the NFL world was, actually.
I wasn't mad.
And it wasn't mad. It just didn't really make sense to me at the time. But obviously,
I really thought I was going to take Penei Sewell. I really did, and they drafted Jamar, and I didn't hate it only because of the LSU connection. But guys, go watch the film. It's simple. Go watch last year, the year before.
That's gonna be like your trademark, guys. Go watch the film. That's gonna be your trademark.
Go watch the film. Go watch the film on any of these guys we talked about. If you disagree with anything, I'll be more than happy to argue with you in the comments.
The only one that I think, and honestly, of all of this, the only one that I think people are gonna disagree with quarterbacks. Everyone's fucking different.
Oh yeah, right.
Was me having Tony Pollard at 5, but even then, I don't think that's absurd.
I feel like there's some people that might find the Saquon one over Josh Jacobs a little bit far-fetched, but I don't know. I like Saquon's game better. I guess that's the best way to put it.
So I'm gonna go ahead and say my 3 and 4 just because they could be interchangeable.
Okay.
I'm gonna say them both. It's Tyreek and Jamar Chase, as you probably could have guessed based on how I talked.
I'll also say my mine's Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams.
Okay, so and then I have a feeling our number 5 might be the same too, but we'll Tyreek and Jamar. The only reason that I have Tyreek higher is he's got a Super Bowl. He's got a ring.
He's got a Super Bowl. He's the best deep threat in the league.
And I was gonna say, and he's the best deep threat in the league. I mean,
he's also playing beside Jalen Waddle. I think he makes Tua look better than he is. Same with Jalen Waddle.
They both make Tua look better than he is.
Tyreek's a demon when it comes to speed. Go watch the film. Say it again.
And then Jamar Chase. I mean, Jamar Chase has literally been a top 5, top 3 receiver since his fucking rookie year. So
yeah. And if anyone disagrees and wants to put Hill over Chase, I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, see, I've got Tyreek over Jamar, but I can't, if someone has Jamar over him, I'm not mad about it. I just think Tyreek Hill, how old is Tyreek at this point? 29, 28. He's been in the league for a while. He's got a ring.
He's proved himself. He's a winner.
He's a proven receiver, and not saying that's not me saying Jamar Chase isn't proven. It's just Jamar Chase is still only 23, 24.
Yeah. Guys, Tyreek Hill you could put him on about any team besides maybe one or two, and he's going to be the number 1 receiver.
Let me see. Team. I want to see. So, last season, Jamar Chase played 12 games, and in that 12 games, he was averaging 7 receptions a game. Fucking crazy. Had 9 touchdowns. And over 1,000 yards. So I think it's safe. So in Jamar Chase's rookie year, where he played every single game, he went for 14, 55, and 13 touchdowns. Okay, I think it's very safe to say. Oh, and he passed his number of receptions in that 12 games that he did his rookie year. So I think, and that just shows progression as a player, that he's not just going for the fucking deep ball anymore. He's actually stopping on out routes and catching. He's running crossers. He's running slants. He's. I mean. It just shows progression as a receiver. But I think it's very fair to say that if he would have played in those last 5 games, you're looking at a 1,600-yard, 15-touchdown receiver.
Yeah, he may have had even a better stat line than a guy like Justin Jefferson.
Definitely. I mean,
definitely.
It's crazy, man. Is there anything else you want to add on those two?
I will say I'm I'm a big Devontae Adams fan now that he's not in Green Bay. It's kind of what you said, just team success. That's nothing against Devontae. You know, just these top three guys are on winning teams. You know, Justin Jefferson was on a 13-win team Vikings that were frauds.
Fraud 13-win Vikings team.
Yep. Jamar Chase on the Bengals. We know how the Bengals are. And Tyreek Hill was on a good Dolphins team last year.
They would have been a contender if Tua would have stayed healthy the whole year.
Yeah.
I mean,
they may have even won the division. Who knows? Because they start off really hot. Devontae Adams, I think, is just as talented as the other two. It really just comes down to team success.
The game where Tua really got exposed last year was that Green Bay game, the Christmas game.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Tua really got exposed.
And I don't think Tua's a bad quarterback.
That Green Bay secondary picked him apart.
Yeah, they did.
It was bad.
I will say this about Tua, though. Tua, I don't think he's a bad quarterback.
I think Tua, at best, is a solid game manager.
I do, too. But if you put Teron Armstead at left tackle, if you put Jalen Waddle, if you put Tyreek Hill...
I was going to say, I mean, fuck, though. If you put Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle around me, I mean, damn. My fat ass would do something with that.
Well, all I got to do is throw a screen pass to one of them. They'll take it to the house.
Literally. I mean, but with that being said, my number 5 is A.J. Brown.
Okay. I put Stephon Diggs.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
I really don't.
I mean, obviously A.J. Brown career year last year. After what?
A.J. Brown would have been my number 6.
A.J. Brown career year last year. I mean, 6'1", 227. He's fast as fuck. Had 88 receptions. Was healthy. I mean, sponsored by Moon Mist. Just kidding. Not actually. But I mean, and obviously was one of the major contributing factors to Jalen Hurts' jump last year.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
And I'm not saying that he made Jalen Hurts, he's their only reason, but
yeah,
he's a definitely big contributing factor.
He is, and I will say Stephon Diggs is just, he puts up the numbers every year. He's Josh Allen's go-to guy. He's on a winning team. Josh Allen really took his leap whenever the Bills made that trade for him. And
it's honestly it's literally the same situation. Jalen Hurts made the big leap whenever they traded for A.J. Brown.
Yep, Josh Allen,
but it just goes to show you how much a true number 1 is valued in this league.
Yeah, especially in today's league because it's such a pass-heavy league. You need a guy like that. You just do.
Unless you're Patrick Mahomes, then you can make...
Yeah, you can make anything work.
Or fucking Tom Brady made Julian Edelman's slow white ass look like fucking... I mean, damn.
I will say, he could run them short.
Hey, bro, he can run... Yeah, I was going to say, he can fucking run that shit, but damn.
He could. He could. I really think we're running the same tight ends. I really do.
I feel like tight end, man, is like... I don't know. I mean, I feel like tight end after the 5... I don't know. I may have a guy in my top 5 that you don't have. It's not Chigozium, don't worry. I'll let you...
I've one, so...
I'll let you go first. I mean, our number... we're not even talking about number 1, actually. Fuck that. Our number 1's Travis Kelce. I don't even have to... Yeah.
Travis Kelce.
Now, I could see where number 2 would be kind of interchangeable, but who's your number 2?
George Kittle.
Mine too.
It's not his fault the 49ers don't use him in the pass game.
They use him as a fucking extra offensive lineman. I mean, that shit's annoying.
I had it.
That shit's annoying. Yeah, and
he is the best blocking tight end in the league. He's also, I believe, the second best overall tight end in the league. When the 49ers use him, hell of a game. They get a hell of a game out of George Kittle, but he's always just blocking, man. And
49ers have so many fucking... I mean, Debo, Brandon Ayuk, McCaffrey now, obviously. I mean, it's just... So, yeah, Kelce and Kittle, 1 and 2. Now, who's your number 3?
I had Mark Andrews.
I did too.
I had to think about that with my number 4. I'll go ahead and say Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts... I'm talking about Kyle Pitts now. Kyle Pitts, for me, is one of those guys... It's the same situation as George Kittle, in a way. The Falcons don't use him. They don't use a generational tight end. If you're looking at pure skill, Kyle Pitts may even be number 3 or 2. Just based off pure skill, it's possible. But Mark Andrews is just consistent. He's Lamar's go-to guy. Oh my God, who do you have it for?
Oh, I mean, not anyone that you'll disagree with, but I don't have Kyle Pitts in my top 5. He'd be my number 6.
Okay.
I don't have him in my top 5.
I'm not going to argue it. I mean, he hasn't really had the stats or whatever, but
I can't put him in my. Kyle Pitts is probably talent wise the third best tight end in the league, but
I think you could even argue over Kittle for just going off base skill.
If we're talking just like pure, honestly, if we're talking pure receiving, Mark Andrews is, I mean, but
Yeah.
but if we're talking all around, I mean, my biggest issue with Kyle Pitts is a tight end should be able to block. Kyle Pitts is not a good blocker, and just he's on Atlanta, and it's not his fault. It's not his fault they don't use him.
That's why he's really tough for me.
It's not his fault. But I know what he could be, and if they'll fucking use him right, then he is a bona fide top 5 guy.
I wouldn't even say could be. I know. Look at his rookie year, 1,000 yards.
Yeah, I mean, you know what the fuck he can be.
Yeah, exactly. And it really pisses me off the way Atlanta uses him because he's a generational tight end. He's a versatile weapon, someone we know would say.
So he was your number 4?
Yeah.
My number 4 was Hawkinson.
He's my top 5.
He had 1,000 yards last year. And was...
He probably 6.
He went... Let me see. So who's your number 5? Just out of curiosity.
Dallas Goedert.
Okay. That was my number 5.
Him and Hawkinson are interchangeable for me.
I almost put Darren Waller in there, but the problem with Darren Waller is he wasn't healthy. Yeah.
Injuries.
But I told Tyler, my hot take for the season is Darren Waller will fully bounce back this year, have a career year, and emerge as the Giants' number 1 receiving weapon.
I think he'll be a top 3 tight end this year.
I had Hawkinson in my top 5 though, man. I love Hawkinson.
I'm not. He's that good.
And what he added to that Minnesota team was amazing, and he got better after being traded to Minnesota.
He did. I mean, he played for Detroit. It's hard to. It's hard to be good for Detroit.
And Goddard was my number 5.
Okay. So kind of the same. I will say Dallas Goedert though. Just he's like the best.
Dallas Goedert doesn't get talked about a lot.
He doesn't, and it's.
Just out of curiosity, I am going to look up his stats.
He's just one of those guys that is so secretly damn good, and no one talks about him.
Even when he was playing behind Zach Ertz, he was secretly fucking good.
He was good. I think he was better than Ertz last year. He was. Dallas Goedert, man. He's Jalen Hurts' safety blanket. He is. He can take it to the house if you throw him a little, 5 and out or whatever. He's good all around.
Goddard went for 702 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he also only played 12 games.
Yeah, so
I mean, you can probably assume close to 1,000, and maybe 5 or 6 touchdowns.
Yeah. So I mean, and he's been,
but he's never been a high touchdown guy in his career. He's only got 19 for his entire career. He's never been a high touchdown guy, but he's just a safety blanket who's.
He is. He's a safety blanket that can get yards. You may not see him as a red zone threat as a guy like Mark Andrews or Travis Kelce. But he's consistent. He's good. Plays on the best team in the NFC.
All right, so skill positions out of the way. Let's hop into the big boys. Tyler, who's the best guard in the NFL according to you?
Best guard? Zach Martin.
Okay.
Pay the man.
Pay the man. Yes. Pay him.
I used to believe was close with Quentin Nelson.
I'll be honest, I really don't know how to go in depth about offensive linemen. I mean, it's kind of just like you watch them, I mean, it's real. I think it's hard to go in depth with offensive linemen.
It is. Maybe we'll how much to their team.
Well, and one thing that I think we've said this before. So me and Tyler, we both used to look at PFF a lot. But now I think PFF is one of the best ways to grade offensive linemen. But
it's not just looking at the grade. It's they show the pressures allowed, the sacks allowed, stuff like that. Because if you're just going purely based off the grade, it's not going to tell the whole story. That's the main thing with PFF.
Yeah. I just like PFF for offensive linemen. I think for offensive linemen, it's really good.
Yeah, it's just one of those positions that it's hard to evaluate unless you watch every single game for every team.
Literally.
But obviously we can't do that. But
so yeah, Zach Martin was my number 1. My number 2 is Chris Lindstrom.
Quentin Nelson.
He's in my top 5. I'm not gonna say where, but he's in my top 5.
I will say I don't disagree with Chris Lindstrom. I know Quentin Nelson.
And Chris Lindstrom got fucking paid, buddy.
He did, and I think he deserves
$105 million, and he deserves every penny of it.
He is the rock of that Atlanta offensive line. He is the rock. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
His jump was massive too.
It was.
He was never considered bad.
He always was average.
Yeah, but then
always.
he just last season, man, it just. Who's your number 3?
I'll go into Quentin Nelson here a little bit, and then I'll give my 3. Quentin Nelson just he plays on a bad Colts offensive line. He did. Besides his rookie years, it was one of the best in the league before all those guys had left or regressed. Quentin Nelson is a big boy. He's amazing in the run game. But I feel like everyone says he's been having down years only because of the people he's been playing around. I still think Quentin Nelson is the second best guard in the league. And I'm not going to disagree with you putting Lindstrom over him, but Dan, I know you're a Titans fan, so I mean you may hate Quentin Nelson there just a little bit, but Quentin Nelson he's amazing. And I don't have the stats in front of my face, but I've watched a decent amount of Colts games. It shows on the field. It really does. And as I mentioned, I think everyone's now like, oh, he's not what he was. But I do believe that is because of the people that's around him. Because if you look at that offensive line now versus his rookie year, it's definitely not what it was at all. At all.
Nah.
And he's not one of these premier positions like left tackle or right tackle. He's a guard, man. And guards are valuable. I'm not saying that, but I mean, no one can argue that guard is more valuable than a left tackle. It's just not. Tackles cover the edge rushers.
Cover your blind side, buddy.
Yeah, cover your blind side. And for Tua, the right tackle does that. So, but yeah, my number 3 is also Chris Lindstrom. You pretty much went into everything about him. He's good, and I've said that about every player on my list, but it's true. They're good.
I mean, I don't.
He's definitely good. Chris Lindstrom took that massive jump. Got paid. I think he's worth every penny. By far the best offensive lineman on that Atlanta line.
Yeah, easily.
But I mean, you pretty much said everything else. He's good.
So my number 3 is Joe Bitonio. 87.5 PFF grade. Only allowed 1 sack last year. Only 4 penalties, which is fantastic. Played almost 1,200 offensive snaps and only 1 sack.
I will say Bitonio is my 4.
Joe Bitonio is fucking phenomenal, man.
He is. He's phenomenal in every area. He is.
So Bitonio was your number 4.
So who's yours?
My number 4. Well, I kind of already said it. My number 4 is Tooney. But with that being said, my 4 and 5 are interchangeable. I just fucking hate the Colts, so I'm not putting Quentin Nelson above 5.
Okay. My 5 might shock you a little bit.
Who is it?
It's actually a tie, but I lean towards Elgton Jenkins.
Okay.
And I know he's a Packer, and it was hard for me to do this, but he can play anywhere on the.
Who's the other guy you were? Okay. Okay. So we're actually pretty much on the same page then with offensive linemen.
Yeah, we're pretty much on the same page. Elgton Jenkins can play anywhere on that line and be elite.
He's so versatile, man.
He is, and that's really the reason.
He was drafted as a tackle, wasn't he? And then transitioned to guard, but then went back to tackle.
And he was still elite at tackle.
And he's still elite, yeah.
I hate the fucking Packers. I think everyone knows that. But I'm not going to deny this. I mean, it's a podcast to try to put bias aside just a little bit. Not for Aaron Rodgers, though. But Elgton Jenkins is amazing. I would take my team any day. And Joe Tooney just... He's not bad in a single area. He's just... And he also plays for the Chiefs. So.
The number one thing for me with Joe Tooney is consistency. He's another guy that played over 1,000 snaps, only 1 sack allowed, just 2 penalties. I mean, and that's the main thing for me when looking at offensive linemen is I think sacks allowed for offensive linemen can be a little bit overrated to look at. But one major thing I look at with offensive line is penalties, because there's no reason an offensive lineman should be causing your team yards. No reason.
Yeah, it's like, and I kind of mentioned this with Quentin Nelson, he may have more sacks allowed than you want. I don't know off the top of my head. But that's really...
Quentin Nelson.
surrounding.
I'll just go ahead and tell you. In 2022, this is according to PFF. In 2022, he had a 68.4 player grade, played 1,200 offensive snaps, had 5 penalties, but did allow 5 sacks.
Okay. Penalties maybe are not where you want them, but as we had talked about, sacks can be a contributor, to the people that play around him. And Quentin Nelson does not have a great supporting cast on that offensive line. So that's why he's ranked as my number 2, because I know what he is, but he's just playing on a shit team right now. I think you can't agree on that.
Yeah, shitty team. So, with guards out of the way, that might have been a little confusing, so I'm going to run through my top 5 real quick. It was Zach Martin, Chris Lindstrom, Joel Bitonio, Joe Tooney, and Quentin Nelson. So, hopping into tackles, I think we should have the same number 1 tackle in the league. Trent Williams, right? Just for context, Trent Williams had a 93 PFF grade last year and only allowed 1 sack. So, I think that pretty much says it.
And 334, and he's still doing the damn thing.
Yeah, so Trent Williams is low-key kind of quick, too. Did you know he ran a 4.81?
Really?
4.81 for 6'5", 320 is...
He's a big boy.
Yeah.
He's a big boy. I did not know he ran that fast.
So I've got a feeling we're going to have different number 2s. But...
You'll make it first?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, so this is very interchangeable. Andrew Thomas.
I don't hate it. He's not my number 2, but I don't hate it. Actually, I will say this. Nah, just keep going.
He took a massive step. I mean, massive. I think he was a huge contributor to the Giants' success last year, and I think he will be this year as well. He looked like one of those guys, and I know he was took in the top 5, correct? I know he's the first tackle off the board, and like the Tristan Wirfs and.
I know he was taken over Tristan Wirfs, which weirdly enough is actually starting to look kind of good. I mean, it really is.
It is.
Tristan Wirfs is.
Jedrick Wills. That's what I was thinking of.
Tristan Wirfs. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Tom Brady's quick release is going to make any tackle look better, but Tristan Wirfs.
I will get to Tristan Wirfs later, but Andrew Thomas took a massive step. He looked like he was a bust, and that it was a joke that guys like Tristan Wirfs and Jedrick Wills, who's a good tackle, not amazing, were taking over. He was taking over them.
Jedrick Wills has turned into an all right tackle.
He's all right. He's above average to average sometimes. Kind of has a little too many penalties. Just has some stupid moments too, but also really good moments. But Andrew Thomas, I mean, it's hard to go into tackles like it is like skill positions. Go watch the film.
My number 2 is Lane Johnson. 0 sacks allowed last year and 1,000 snaps played.
I don't disagree.
That's all I need to say. I don't even know how old Lane Johnson is at this point, but 0 sacks allowed, 0 sacks allowed, and 1,000 snaps played.
I feel like we're going to disagree on my 3.
Here's your 3.
Okay, so I went back and forth between this guy and Lane Johnson, but Rashawn Slater was so damn good his rookie year and I don't know. I go back and forth between him and Lane Johnson. I know the injury last year because let's be honest, if he was healthy, I'd have him at number 2.
Right.
I just would, but Rashawn Slater is, and he got trashed coming out of Northwestern for his short arms, but he put all that to shit. He was Justin Herbert's
from out the gate. He was a stud.
He was Justin Herbert's bodyguard on a good team. And I almost put Lane Johnson over him, and actually I kind of like am considering it now, but it's like a coin toss for me between those two. And Slater's younger, but Lane Johnson's been doing this his whole career. I don't know. I don't disagree with even Lane Johnson at 2. I think it's very valid.
Well, my number 3 is Laramie Tunsil. And it's almost the same thing as Lane Johnson. My biggest beef with Laramie Tunsil is 11 penalties, which was tied for 7th in the league. But kind of the same thing with Lane Johnson, 1,000 snaps played, 1 sack allowed.
Okay, I'm gonna say this. He isn't even in my top five.
Really.
He's not, and it is because of the penalties. It is.
Listen, that's why I brung that up. I don't disagree.
That's the only reason he's
He
there.
did make my number 3 just because it's hard to ignore 1,000 snaps played and only 1 sack allowed.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
I can't ignore that, man.
And as I mentioned earlier, it's hard to evaluate these guys like skill positions because if you're not watching every game with these guys or even half games with them, it's hard to really know. So
It's
So,
hard to grade offensive linemen. It really is. So if you're ready, my number 4, I'm not gonna go too in depth with, is Rashawn Slater.
mine's Lane Johnson. I
So
think you covered Lane.
my biggest problem with Rashawn, he had a fucking phenomenal rookie year. My biggest problem was he played 3 games last year.
Yeah, it just hurt.
And as I mentioned, like with the running backs when talking about McCaffrey, it's really hard for. It doesn't matter how good they were. It's really hard for me to put a guy who was out for an entire season or more, or just misses a lot of time. It's hard for me to put them, no matter how good they are.
Okay. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I really do. So do you want to hear my 5?
Sure.
Tristan Wirfs.
He didn't make my top 5. My 5. I'm gonna say this because I'm not gonna go in depth with it because you already covered it. My 5's Andrew Thomas.
Okay. Tristan Wirfs, I think, is the best right tackle in the league. He's young. He's on a Super Bowl team.
Sorry for that. I just need my desk, and my monitor was hanging halfway off my desk, and that would have pulled my computer off too, and I would have lost everything. Whew. That's why I made that face.
Where was we at, Tristan?
Tristan Wirfs. Yes.
Okay. I think he's the best right tackle in the league. He's a Super Bowl champion.
That was terrifying.
He's one of those guys that were like, you could mention a couple names, and I'm not going to disagree if you put them over him. Like we mentioned, it's offensive line. If you're not watching every game or watching film all the time, it's hard to evaluate these guys. So I'm really just going off of what I know off the top of my head, and I know that Tristan Wirfs is probably the best right tackle in the league.
Yeah. I don't really think there's much more to say about tackles. So it was a little, like I said, it was a little confusing, but Trent Williams, Laramie Tunsil, Lane Johnson, Rashawn Slater, and Andrew Thomas was my 5.
Yeah, mine was Trent Williams, Andrew Thomas, Rashawn Slater, Lane Johnson, which can be interchangeable, and then Tristan Wirfs.
Or Lane Johnson was my 2. Sorry. So center. Now, we might have different number 1 centers. Maybe. My number 1's Creed Humphrey.
That's mine, Creed Humphrey. We should have the same.
Yeah, same 2 as well. Jason Kelsey.
Corey Linsley.
Mine was Jason Kelsey.
I'm kidding, Jason Kelsey.
Linsley is in my top 5.
He's mine too.
Jason Kelsey, I really don't know what to say about centers. Like, I hate to be boring about it, but, like, I don't know what to say about centers.
Kelsey's been doing this thing for years, actually almost retired. But he's the staple of the Eagles' offensive line. He is. He's a leader in that locker room. Creed Humphrey just emerged out of nowhere. We drafted 2nd round.
Damn it, I missed the trash can. Yeah, he was. Hold on, I will tell you. You can keep talking. I'll pull it up.
Creed Humphrey is Patrick Mahomes' center. He's on a winning team. From top of the eye, I know he doesn't really have many penalties or sacks allowed. Like I said, he plays for the Chiefs, and he's under Patrick.
In 1,200 snaps played last year, he had a 90 grade, only 4 penalties, and no sacks.
Okay, yeah, so that's insane. So as we mentioned, center's harder to even talk about more than guards and tackles. So we may not go too in-depth with this, but we know our shit. So if anyone has a problem with that, comment below. I'd be more than happy to talk about it. So my 3 is Frank Ragnow.
Okay. Ragnow was also my 3, actually. Also my 3.
He plays on one of the best offensive lines in football. Detroit has an amazing line, and he's probably the best on that line. So, and I'm a Detroit guy. I'll say that, but I do respect out Frank Ragnow. He's an amazing game.
My number 4 is Corey Linsley.
Mine is Tyler Linderbaum.
Linderbaum's my 5.
Okay, the reason I put Linderbaum over Lindsley is because I know Lindsley had a down year last year.
He did.
I think in the run game, I know in the pass game he was still elite. I believe,
Lindsley's just been so good for so long.
He has. Linderbaum had an amazing rookie year. We all knew coming out of the draft this kid was going to be a stud. It was, and I believe he got took at like.
He was the.
Where did he?
He was the 25th pick.
Yeah, I was getting him and Kyle Hamilton's numbers mixed up because I know Hamilton was like what 14, 16.
Hamilton was around 14.
14. Linderbaum's good. Plays on a good offensive line with the guys like Ronnie Stanley and Kevin Zeitler. He's good.
For context, in 1,100 snaps played last year, Linderbaum allowed 3 sacks, had 6 penalties, which from a center is kind of but
yeah.
I mean, he's a rookie.
Yeah, he was a rookie, and he was a good rookie. He was. But my 5 is Corey Lindsley, so Corey Lindsley's just been doing the thing for a long time. He has. Sponsored by Dove. Makes your skin smooth.
It's Dove. It's not Dove, you idiot.
I've always said Dove is a joke. God! No! My fucking toe! So we're back. We're going to break down the Trey Lance trade to the Cowboys. So I'm not sure what year the 4th round pick was. Maybe this year, next year. I'm not positive. But Trey Lance is now a Cowboy. And if y'all didn't know, the 49ers traded a haul to trade up for him.
Sorry.
Well, Trey Lance really, I don't want to say he's a bust because he hasn't really played, like, at all. I know you can say he played against the Bears week 1, but let's be honest, it was a monsoon game. I wouldn't count that.
Yeah, Justin Fields was sliding around the field, literally. Literally was sliding around the field.
Yeah.
My biggest gripe with this on the Niners side is I think Josh Allen has ruined a lot of people's expectations with quarterbacks. You draft Trey Lance because I'm not saying that this is what directly made them do it, but you see what Josh Allen's doing. So you draft a guy like Trey Lance. But here's the thing. You sit him his entire fucking rookie year, barely let the motherfucker play, and then he gets hurt 4 games, right? 4 games into his fucking second year. And then you just
I'd say probably that.
And then you give up on him. Like, I want to know, and I said this in our short that we recorded, I want to know what Trey Lance has done to make them give up on him. Like, you draft a quarterback like Trey Lance, knowing that he's a project guy, knowing that he's not going to be good at the gate, but you give up on him after 2 fucking years?
Yeah, I have to know what's going on behind the scenes for this. I mean, it makes no sense for what they traded.
The original trade back in 2021 was the number 3 pick to the Niners in exchange for the 12th pick that year, a first the next year, a 3rd round pick in 2022, and then a 1st round pick this past draft. So
it's a lot.
And I mean, so the Niners basically gave up 3 or 4 young players for a quarterback that started 4 games for them, and then they only got a 4th round pick in return.
Yeah, the Dolphins also used one of those first to trade for Tyreek Hill. Fun fact.
What does this mean for the Cowboys, though, do you think? Mainly for Dak. What does this mean for Dak?
I don't think the Cowboys are sold on Dak. I'm also in the same boat. I don't think Dak's a bad quarterback by any means.
I don't think Dak can get the job done in the playoffs.
I believe so, and the Cowboys have a good roster, even if I predict them to not win many games. But I purely did that just because, I mean, you see down years all the time. They're playing in a rough division.
The division's that division went from the laughing stock to pretty good.
Yeah, and I know Washington is a good team, but look at the Giants. Look at the Eagles. Dak, for me, is one of those guys, like, he can win a lot of regular season games and he can look excellent. But the second you get to the playoffs, I think he chokes. That's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so.
I seen on Twitter where Jerry Jones, they had asked Dak if they had let him know, about them trading for Trey Lance, and Dak said no. People were kind of mad about that, but it is a business. But you should.
It is.
I definitely think you should let your starting quarterback know, hey, we're
especially a guy that's there for however
And a
many
guy
years now.
who's done for as much for Dallas as Dak has done.
Yeah,
Because out of the
now
gate, in Dak and Zeke's rookie year, they were a scary ass duo from the gate.
Yeah, and you went from Tony Romo, who was a good quarterback, and then you
But
went to Dak
it's the
Prescott.
same story with Tony Romo in the 2000s. He's just a guy who could never get it done. Now,
Exactly.
do I think that all of those Cowboys blown leads and losses and shit were Romo's fault? Definitely not. But
Yeah, it's not always the quarterback's fault, but the quarterback plays a big part in it.
exactly, and it literally is kind of the same thing as Romo. I mean, Romo could just never get it done.
Yep.
And then another guy. Well, actually, let me ask you this. So, I mean, as far as Dak's time left in Dallas and stuff, what do you think? You think Lance sits behind him this year, and then?
Yeah, I believe he sits behind him this year. I know Dak signed an extension not too long ago, so I don't know how much it would be if they were to trade him or cut him, which I don't believe they'd cut him, but I believe we'll see what Dak does this year. I know he's battled some injuries as well.
Who would trade for Dak?
That's an interesting take. I think it could be like a Derek Carr situation. I do think Dak's better. But one of these teams that has a good roster, I'm not going to deny the Saints have a bad roster, but they have a decent roster, but maybe a team like that will take a chance on Dak to, get to the playoffs and see what can happen. Because Dak is not a bad quarterback. He's really not.
Do you think, hear me out. So, let me fact check this before I say anything. Hold on. So one team that kind of came to mind, and I really don't know why. Okay, never mind. It won't happen now. But I was gonna low key say I could see a Giants going after him. I don't
think he'd be better than Daniel Jones.
Yeah, well, but Daniel Jones got a fucking $160 million contract, so.
There's a team that comes to my mind, but it's based on one factor. That's the Steelers. Can Kenny Pickett take a step? And to me, I think Kenny Pickett's all right. I don't think he has a high ceiling. But let's say the Steelers win 9 games again this year. Their defense looks great. You have George Pickens, Deontay Johnson. The same line takes a step. If you're not sold,
still have Najee too.
Najee too. If you're not, and Freiermuth and Darnell Washington. If you're not sold on Kenny Pickett and Dak is on the market, what's stopping you?
I think you go for it. I mean, because really, this Steelers team, it really shouldn't even be a rebuild. It should be more of a retool.
Yeah, and I don't hate Pickett. I don't. But I've said this before in one of the podcasts. Pickett is the type of guy where I believe he has a high floor but a low ceiling. And I think he is going to be a decent quarterback in this league, but how good is he actually going to be? Is he going to take the Steelers to the playoffs? Is he going to win a couple games?
I know we use this comparison all the time, but I think an Alex Smith or Andy Dalton or something is perfect.
Yeah, I see a lot of Andy Dalton with him, especially the way they play. Andy Dalton, though, was a beast there for about 2 years with the Bengals, but if we're not counting those 2 years, that's what I see with Kenny Pickett. But, like I mentioned, if the Steelers win 9 games in a tough division, what is stopping you from going out and getting a guy like Dak? It's an interesting take.
Next up is Jonathan Taylor. The Colts are finally allowing Jonathan Taylor to seek a trade. The number one team that I'm seeing on this, that everywhere, is the Dolphins.
Yeah, Dolphins are really good. Dolphins want to get better, and I know Jonathan Taylor's coming off the injury-riddled season, but 2 years ago he was probably the best running back in the league because Derrick Henry got hurt. But and another team I've been seeing a lot that
I don't know if I'd go best. I mean, I'd probably, Nick Chubb still probably better.
I don't know about that one. But, if we're counting 2 years ago, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry would have been the best, but the injury.
I don't know about top. I don't know about best.
But
Anyway.
Another team I've been seeing, and it's not as much as I've seen the Dolphins, but I've seen the Bears be linked to him, and now, and I'm a Bears fan. I want to tell you what I believe.
I kind of like that.
I hate it.
I kind of like.
I'm not. See, I'm on the board, and I'm not saying running backs don't deserve to be paid, but it's like the Bears right now are in talks with Chris Jones, who pull the trigger, pull it. Actually, I would like to go into that a little bit after this, but Jonathan Taylor, he's a running back. He's really good when he's healthy, but see, I love our room as it is. You've got Khalil Herbert, who averaged 6.5 yards per carry last year, or 5.7, somewhere in there. Deontay Foreman, who averaged 5 yards per carry.
I seem to like Khalil Herbert a little bit more than you do.
Here's what it is for Herbert for me. I believe he is the worst blocking running back in the league. He can't block worth shit, and he's also not a good receiver out of the backfield. He can't catch a fucking ball to save his life. But when it comes to pure running, I believe he's excellent. I believe he finds the holes. I believe he has amazing vision. He's got speed. But he's one of those guys for me, too, where he cannot be the primary back for you because of the things I mentioned. He can't catch out of the backfield. He can't block worth shit. I'd actually put money on that. He's probably the worst blocker I've ever seen. I do like Herbert. I do, and that's not me trying to say anything against him, but you brought a guy like Deontay Foreman in for a reason. You did. Coming off a 900-yard year with the Panthers, averaged 5 yards per carry. He's a very good player as well. He may not have the burst that Herbert.
If Chris Jones get moved, it could actually be by tomorrow because they have to have 53-man rosters tomorrow. So if he doesn't report to camp tomorrow, then he's already amassed almost $2 million in fines.
So, but to the Bears, Taylor.
Oh, sorry.
I don't want it.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just thinking about that.
You're fine. I'll talk about him here in a second, but I love our room as it is, and you have all this money. I'm not willing to pay running back with it. I'm just not, especially in a league that's so pass heavy. You're not getting a guy like Derrick Henry or Christian McCaffrey. I don't want it. I don't want it. And I believe he's won like $16 million a year. I'm not willing to give that for a guy who's coming off an injury-based season. I'm just not. But let me talk about Chris Jones here. I want him. I want Poles to pull the trigger. I will give up a first-round pick this year, next year, a second-rounder. You name it, I'll probably pull the trigger. The Bears. Good.
According to Albert Breer 10 hours ago on Sports Illustrated, it's not likely that he reports tomorrow.
Oh yeah, he's not. He mentioned not even showing up to week 8 of the regular season. I believe he will be on the move. The only team I've really seen call is the Bears, and as a Bears fan, as everybody knows, Bear Down Chicago Bears. I love what we have on offense, and I believe Fields is going to take that next step, as I've mentioned before. I'm a huge Justin Fields guy, if no one knows. But the defense is a problem. You signing Yannick Ngakoue was a good signing, can get to the quarterback. But the other side, DeMarcus Walker, Terrell Lewis, Travis Gibson asked for a trade, Rasheem Green.
Travis Gibson asked for a trade?
Yeah. Yeah, he looks like Squidward's house, if you never noticed. But
he has a big nose.
And I know we drafted Javon Dexter and Zach Pickens really high, but Chris Jones is a game changer. He gets to the quarterback, he stuffs around, he does it all. And I know he's wanting Aaron Donald money. I know he's wanting $28-30 million a year, but you have the money. I want to go all in this year. I want the Bears to take the North. So, and we have 2 first-round picks this year. We have Carolina's and ours. We also have another Carolina first and a second. Pull the damn trigger. I know he's 29 years old, but you can get 4 years out of him, and we can be fucking contenders again. Believe that. I believe we'll fucking win the North this year. So adding Chris Jones, give me 13 wins. 13 win Chicago Bears with Chris Jones. I said it. I want it. I really do. You could name a package right now, and I'd more than likely pull the trigger. That's just what I do.
Mooney.
Sponsored by Moonmas. Yeah. So, there's other trade rumors coming around. I know I'm talking about my team right now, but it's going on. So there's rumors, not hard rumors, but a lot of people talking about Darnell Mooney getting traded. He is due for an extension. So
I'm sorry, but Chicago got to pay Mooney.
They do. And I know Mooney's coming off the injury, and I know Mooney's not exactly been amazing, but let's not consider the 1,000-yard year under Matt Nagy and playing with 3 different quarterbacks. Mooney's good, and I used to believe Mooney maybe could elevate himself as a wide receiver 1. Let's be honest, he's a good wide receiver 2. I think the speed on the outside of DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney, it's elite. Just based off speed, and then and I'm not a big Claypool guy, but I think Claypool does complement them well. He's a big body receiver, has speed. Maybe doesn't create the most separation, but when it comes to the red zone, I would rather throw it to Claypool than Mooney. And I mean, that's just the truth. Mooney's consistent.
I got a question actually related to the Bears.
Sorry.
So with them putting Dante Pettis on IR today, does that pretty much guarantee Velus Jones is safe for at least now?
Yeah.
I figured. I was just curious about that.
And for anyone that doesn't know, I hate Velus Jones. I think he's an absolute waste of a third-round pick.
That's never been mentioned before.
But from what I hear, Tyler Scott will be returning punts. He did that final preseason game, and he actually had a really good return as well. And from also what I hear, Velus Jones will be on kickoff returns, which he's actually been okay at. He can actually catch those for some reason and not a punt, which is beyond me. But, Velus, you suck. You do. I mean, you're an absolute waste of space. Waste of oxygen. That's maybe a little far. But you don't contribute to this team in the slightest. You actually hurt us. You really do. I mean, you're already an old man. You're about 26, 27. You've been in the league for 2 years. You've had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, and you fumble every damn time. Every fucking time. You just do. Absolute waste of a third-round pick. Absolute waste of a guy who don't do shit. Let's just be honest. He can't do fucking nothing.
I got time going about Velus Jones.
Here we go. But it's the truth. He comes out of college, electric speed, and I know he was never a polished route runner, but the motherfucker don't do nothing, absolutely nothing. I was saying, well, maybe he could be a gadget guy coming out. I was trying to get myself to like it. No, if you can't hold on to the fucking ball, what's the point of getting it to you? You'll fumble every fucking time. If you get him on a jet sweep, fumble, we lose the fucking game. On a punt return, he muffs 3 in one season. How many opportunities he also muffed 1 in the preseason as well, and his second year. You could give him an excuse like, oh, you're a rookie, it happens. It happened again in his second year. How many opportunities do you need? Oh my God, he don't do nothing. Absolutely nothing. And there was one practice where him and Eddie Jackson got into it. You can't catch the ball. Of course a DB is going to say something to you, you can't catch a ball.
It was nice to see. It was nice to see Eddie bounce back.
Yeah, and I was one of those guys who were like, oh, Jackson can't tackle or shit. The thing with Eddie Jackson is it really took for him to play beside a true strong safety like Jaquan Brisker to elevate his game. Because Eddie Jackson in center field, down the field, is elite. If you have Jackson...
Brisker being able to play that box role and come in and get guys on the run and stuff definitely makes Eddie look better.
I don't think I saw Jaquan miss 1 tackle last year. And he had that one interception.
I mean, Jaquan being there to play that box role definitely makes Eddie look a lot better. It does.
And pull up the save chat. I said Jaquan Brisker will be a top 10 safety in this league in 2 years. That's saved in our Snapchat chat, but I'm huge on Jaquan. But I mean, if you look at years past, he played beside Clinton Dix. He played beside Deshaun Gibson. Those guys are free safeties, and then they're not bad players, but their role is free safety. And having a guy who can line up in the box.
I mean, a guy like Eddie Jackson should have never really been in that position to make tackles like that in the first place, because that's not even when he was in college and coming out, that wasn't his play style. He where he excels is down the field coverage.
He does, and if you look through the timeline, like I said, Clinton Dix, Deshaun Gibson, those were his down years. But Adrian Amos, his last year in Chicago, Eddie Jackson was elite.
Yep.
And Adrian Amos is a true safety, like strong safety. To say, but and Jaquan has a similar style. You line him up.
Jaquan is a true box strong safety. He is,
and that's what Eddie Jackson needs to be Eddie Jackson. I kind of want to talk more about Velus, but I know I shouldn't. So that's not gonna happen. Moon missed.
Unless there's anything else you want to bring up, I think that. I will say this, not going to guarantee anything, but this Saturday, me and Tyler will be together watching the West Virginia and Penn State game. We maybe, try to do a little live show. We'll see. It's going to be a little hard to do for reasons that we're not going to go into, but it's going to be a little difficult to do, but we'll see. So no guarantees there. If we do, I'll post to Twitter or something, but... with that being said, I think that about wraps up this week's episode. What do you think?
Yeah, I want to say again how much I hate Bayless Jones. It would make my day if they cut him. It really would. So if they cut Bayless Jones, you all will see a short of me just jumping around happy. It will happen if he gets cut. If he don't, I'll be depressed.
Well,
that's all I gotta say about Jones.
As always, fellas, kids, adults, 2% women viewer population, don't do drugs, wear a condom, and we're sponsored this week by Smock. You can't even see it.
I thought it was Fago Moon Mist.
It's Smock, bro.
Yeah, I've also got a Smock though, so. But listen, y'all, Moon Mist, amazing drink. I got this at the Dollar Tree for $1.25. It's not even a Dollar Tree anymore. But you know, shout out to Fago and the Moon Mist gang over there. Cheap Mountain Dew, tastes good. You know, also gets a little bit.
I got the off-brand Mountain Dew, Mountain Lightning.
Mountain Lightning is also very good. You know, Mountain Dew's the go.
Anyway, with that being said, everyone be good, and we'll see you guys next week.
Sponsored by Dove.